Volt Equity CEO and founder Tad Park explains his company's capability to gain approval in the competitive market. Though dozens of companies like VanEck and Fidelity have submitted applications to the Securities and Exchange Commission to create the first Bitcoin Eastern TimeF, none have received approval thus far. Instead, the SEC has given the green light to the Volt crypto industry revolution and Tech Eastern TimeF, which offers investors access to companies with significant exposure to the world's largest cryptocurrency, rather than the ability to trade it directly. The move comes as Bitcoin inches back to the $60,000 level, as tracked by CoinDesk. Volt Equity's newest Eastern TimeF, which will trade under the ticker symbol BTCR, puts at least 80% of its net assets in Bitcoin industry revolution companies, which are defined as those that hold a majority of their net assets in Bitcoin or derive a majority of their revenue or profits directly from Bitcoin mining, lending, or transacting. The Eastern TimeF also looks at indicators such as the stock-to-flow model, which evaluates the current stock of Bitcoin against the flow of new Bitcoin mined that year.
Meanwhile, the remaining 20% of the fund gets invested into more traditional stocks to offset its risk. I think that more palatable to investors if it's a little less volatile, Park explained. Of course, that's part of a Bitcoin investing, it goes really crazy. But we just think that some people are not quite ready to stomach some of that stuff. Maybe they haven't experienced like 80% drops and these wild things that normally happen within Bitcoin investing. That's why we want to try to smooth out some of those things within a Bitcoin-focused Eastern TimeF by managing some of that for people. According to Park, companies in the fund are narrowed down by factors such as their profit margins, how green they are, and whether their stock price correlates to or even surpasses the price of Bitcoin. Examples include MicroStrategy, Marathon Digital Holdings, and Bitfarms. Ultimately, Park believes that the SEC approval was based on the right timing. I feel like, if it was last year or 2 years ago, it probably wouldn't have been possible to do an Eastern TimeF like this, he said. This is the year to actually launch it because there are qualifying investments where we can actually do things like this. He also noted that the company was considering creating a Bitcoin futures Eastern TimeF long before it received support from SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Even though this is only our 5th Eastern TimeF, we initially did the futures angle for the Eastern TimeF in January, he said. So we spent like nearly $100,000 just talking to lawyers, like without even filing anything, just talking to lawyers about a potential like Bitcoin Eastern TimeF. So before Gary Gensler said anything, before he said that he was going to be more open to a futures Eastern TimeF than other types of Eastern TimeFs, we already were looking into that. Though he is optimistic that there will eventually be a purely coin-based Bitcoin Eastern TimeF, he argues that there is almost a 0 chance that it will be approved this year, citing the hurdles of his own unusual application process, which began at the beginning of 2021. He added that he is not too concerned about competition from a potential Bitcoin Eastern TimeF, noting that it would have no active management and be unable to transition out to other assets like cash. When it comes to cryptocurrency regulation, Park says Gensler is misunderstood by investors who think he's either totally against crypto or totally for it. They don't really see the nuances of where he is coming from, and actually some of the concerns that he brings up about crypto regulation are valid and they're actually, I think, ultimately good for the crypto industry, he added. We have a very technologically advanced society and they can all be solved. Unlike China, who has explicitly banned cryptocurrencies, Park argues that the US government approaches it from a different angle. I think they want to regulate crypto but not necessarily ban it all, he said.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.